Hello, and welcome to Life with Francy podcast, a place you will find all kinds of conversation like mental health, self-care, self-love, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a community where we support one another to get to the next level in personal and business life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get this show started. On this episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Jessica, the host of When Survival Looks Like Success podcast, where she has some vulnerable, raw, and real conversation. She is also the owner of Breathe. I will let her tell you more about it because I know I won't do it justice. Let's welcome Jessica to my show. So tell us, Jessica, what is life with you all about?
Life with Jessica is like, it's kind of like getting on an old rickety roller coaster from like a theme park that's closed down. Like,
Love it.
it really is. It's like, you go to these like abandoned amusement parks and there's still power and there's still electricity and everything's kind of like old and ancient. And it's like calling to you, like ride me one more time. I mean, people aren't calling me saying that, but like,
Get what you're saying.
this is a metaphor. This is a metaphor. But like, it's like, and you want to go on, but you're a little bit concerned that the roller coaster is going to fall off the track or the whole track's going to collapse in. And you just never know if you're going to make it to the end and if you're going to have a good time or not. But you still just kind of go for it and do it anyway. And that's what Life with Jessica is like.
I love it, girl. Well, take us through this roller coaster.
So I'm the owner of Breathe Bodywork and Beautification in Ferndale. It's a vegan wellness spa. If you hear tap dancing in the background, it's my dog because she, whenever I'm on the phone or on a podcast or on anything, she likes to make her presence known. But so I'm the owner of Breathe Bodywork and Beautification, and I opened it in July of 2020, which is the perfect time to open a touch-based business where you're in close contact with people.
Yeah.
I've been doing massage for 17 years and makeup for 17 years as well. Actually going on 18 years for makeup. And so I've been in the industry a really long time, and I have a bunch of different licenses. I have a national massage license, I have a cosmetology license, a state massage license, and then I'm a national massage educator too. I have my own course in prenatal pain management. So I've always been really, really aggressive about education and learning and kind of defying. I'm a little bit of a rebel for sure. Like I definitely go against the grain when it comes to medicine and the practice of medicine. And I tend to veer more towards traditional medicine as opposed to modern medicine. So I think modern medicine has its place. It's not that I don't think that at all, but I just tend to veer towards traditional medicine. So I opened in July of 2020. I had all this experience behind me and it kind of just took off. Like a lot of people, I think were kind of sketchy about opening their businesses then, but I had a really devoted clientele and I just felt like it was the time. Like if I'm going to do it, now's the time. Because if I fail, like, oh, well, at least I tried, but you have to try at some point. And it just took off like really, really fast. And so I expanded within a year. I tripled my space in 3 years, I tripled my space in a year. And I was way in the positive. My first year, the business made like 60,000, which is like kind of crazy for business. Like if you know anything about that, most people just lose their shirts and it takes years to get profitable. I wish I could put 60,000 in my pocket from the business. That's not how that works. And then this year we're on track to make 6 figures, which is a big deal because like, even though it's not in my bank account, at least it's like you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And you know that people need this. Like they need physical nurturing. They need emotional nurturing. They need mental nurturing. They need touch therapy and manual medicine. And so for me, that's really the message there is like, oh, keep going in this direction. So then within the first year, I was listening to some podcasts, and I've been listening to more and more podcasts during like the COVID time, and I just out walking my dogs and stuff. And I'd done a ton of public speaking in my life, tons of public speaking. And I was like, I think I really want to do this because I keep hearing the same thing over and over. Like entrepreneurship is really lonely. Um, a lot of people are talking about how they can't stand all the filtration online with like Instagram and Facebook. There's so much animosity. People are just like reading one thing and jumping to conclusions or making assumptions. And I was like, I really want to do a podcast where I'm kind of combining entrepreneurship and local businesses and other business owners. And I'm in the Metro Detroit area uh with mental health and kind of like what's going on behind the scenes, like in Wizard of Oz when you get like the peek behind the curtain and there's the wizard, right? Like I really wanted like the wizard's story, right? So I started When Survival Looks Like Success, and the title was inspired by a chapter in a book by Sarah Von Brethnock, who's an amazing author. If you've never checked out her books, they were really popular in the 90s, lots of like self-help books. My favorite one is Romancing the Ordinary, but it's so good. But so that was inspired by that. I really think a lot of people don't understand when you're owning a business and running a business that oftentimes like we're seeing these headshots, right? We're seeing like these perfect like headshots where everything is posed and pretty and look at my beautiful business space and my awards and my accomplishments, and I have all those too. But like what they don't see is like me sobbing 2 minutes before a client walks in, or
Yeah.
like throwing shit at the wall, or like freaking out over him how I'm going to pay the water bill and like scrambling and struggling. And I really wanted with this next chapter of my business to be very transparent with people, including if I need a mental health day and can't work, or if I'm having certain symptoms, from an illness, or I have an autoimmune disorder, like if that's bothering me. Like I really wanted to be transparent because I want my clients to be transparent with me too, that this is what's going on and we're not keeping all this stuff from each other, that we can just open up and let go and let down and have people see that. And at first it wasn't, it was met with this like this judgment from people, like, you really want, no, that's not professional. And I'm like, fuck professional, like
Yep.
professional,
Amen.
like fuck that, like, because professional has gotten us to a higher suicide rate, and professional has gotten us to what, over half the country being medicated, and professional has gotten us to higher divorce rates, and professional has got, what I mean? So it's like professional wasn't professional, it was fake. It was what like people thought society should be deemed professional. And it's like, to me, professional is like owning up to your shit, and it's providing quality service, and it's if I can't deliver something on a certain day, I don't want to do it because like you want the best of me. And so if I'm not the best of me, I need to be able to be open about that. And so that was kind of where the idea for the podcast came in. And we just finished wrapping up the first season of it. And the second season is going to start in December. So I'm going to take a little break and add some more and build upon it. And the second season will start in December.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And it was like, yeah, at a time that we needed transparency, but we were not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
So, because now everybody's craving it. I don't know if you
Yeah.
followed the self-help world,
Mhm.
self-development, and Rachel Hollis. By then, it was a huge deal because she was professional.
Yeah.
And when reality hit, she's down. She's canceled because she doesn't own up to her shit. So
Yeah.
I love that the podcast, brings that out, because that's what I tried to do with mine, to bring transparency. Like, who are you? What is life with you? What are your struggles? How did you get here? Because everybody just sees the cute Instagram picture,
Yeah.
but what happened behind the scene, that picture? So I love that you're talking about it.
And like, I think social media is really challenging because just when you think you figure out algorithms and reach and outreach, you don't. Like even in my own, like on my podcast Instagram, which is just at When Survival Looks Like Success, I find that even though I have 2 other Instagram pages that I can get growth on, like my podcast page, no, it's like it doesn't see the light of day. Like it never pops up in people's anything. And I use the same rhythms and formulas and all that, but it just doesn't get there. So it's like I'm trying to figure out, okay, like I'm gonna crack this code. It's like in this little hiatus here in between season 1 and season 2, like I'm gonna crack the code and get that outreach because it drives me nuts. And social media is so stressful. I hate that that's how we're growing our businesses nowadays. Sometimes I love it. Like I love being able to, see pictures of products, especially if it's something like retail wise that you're buying. I buy all kinds of stuff that way, especially from local businesses. They'll pop up a necklace and I'll be like, I need that necklace. Like actually the necklace I'm wearing here right now that's how I found it. It was like on social media, it was on Facebook. It was like a local gift shop had it. And I was like, I need that, hold that, I want it gone. But like in other ways, social media is extremely stressful. And that's why there's like, social media, social free Sunday. That's like a common hashtag. And there's social media detoxes, social media retreats. Like there's full programs where you can pay a coach to help you break your digital addiction. And I speak about that in a few of my different podcast episodes, just how bad it is. Like how we're craving the scrolling, we're craving all that. And so someone asked me one time, they're like, well, do you think your podcast is contributing to that like negativity? And I'm like, well, no, because like my client actually described it really great. She said, podcasts are bringing back the art of listening. She said, because years and years and years ago, it was radio based, right? You didn't have television, you had radio shows. And so it was like, that was using your imagination. That was bringing it to life. And I mean, obviously video is different, but you can still just listen to the audio of a video. But it is bringing back that art of listening. And I think that's so important for us to be able to really like paint these pictures in our heads and create that world. And so, no, I don't think it's contributing poorly. If anything, I think it's kind of going the opposite way and utilizing social media the way it should be used, in my opinion. I mean, other people may have a different opinion, but by what they think social media should be. But I think it should be really about outreach. Like, how can we connect in social media? Like, it should be about connectivity and not divisiveness and breaking apart and creating all this animosity. So I always try with my social media, my personal, my business, all of them, to really be like, okay, how can I cultivate this community and how can I create the connections that people are really craving for in this day and age? So
Yeah, it's really hard to build that on social media. I'm trying myself, girl. Trying we bringing a guest in and like getting your audience to get my audience to know each other and like be cool about each other. So far no problems, but I keep it light and
yeah,
I keep it real.
yeah,
This is life.
it is. And it's like, I feel like there's so much heavy stuff. Like a lot of times, like I don't read the news. I don't watch the news. I don't buy into the news. I think it's hilarious when people try to tell me what's a fact. I'm like, and I always say, and people get so mad about this, but I always say, facts are facts until they're not facts. Because things
Amen.
are constantly changing. Knowledge is constantly changing. The CIA is like dropping like files from the 60s that are like, oh, by the way, this like, science changes every single day. Like everything you can think of has changed on a daily basis. Like we're finding like, I'm in like Michigan and I think it was like the west side of the state. They found like a mastodon or something recently. Like it's like, so there's always things that are going to be changing. History's changing and it's constantly in shift and in transition. And I feel like the most well-adjusted people are the people that commit to that factor of, oh, life is always in motion. It's always changing. It's always, you have to be adaptable to whatever's happening now. And so that's where it's like, okay, I think those are the people that are doing really well in life, as opposed to the people that are committing to facts that if they change, it's like their whole world is blown up. So, if anything, your mental health really relies on that. It really relies on you to be flexible to new information and
Mm.
flexible to old information changing, or like a puzzle that's missing pieces. You need to be flexible to what those pieces are going to mean when they go into the picture. So I really try to encourage that and say little clues and things like that online. It's just to get people to think and be more open-minded.
Yeah, so tell me more about is it like a spa day that I read on your website?
Which one? Which one? I do have a customized spa day. I have a Breathe customized spa day, but we're going that like today, actually today, tomorrow, and the next day, I'm working up north at if you're in Michigan, everyone knows if you just say up north, like you just it's just like north of Metro Detroit. But we're going up north to Tawas, which is like here on the Michigan map. And it's Women's Wellness Weekend, and it's sponsored by the YMCA. So that's like a
Okay.
whole retreat thing that we're doing spa services at. But normally I
Awesome.
do have like a Breathe customized day spa package, and I make like a vegan appetizer platter, and we have this organic vegan wine from Scott and Cellar. Or if you're sober, we have different teas available because I'm sober. And and it's 3.5 hours total of like spa services and all this stuff. So people really love that.
That's amazing. I love it. I need to go to Michigan now. I'm in
I know.
Kansas.
Oh, you're in Kansas? My mother-in-law's in Kansas. I think she's in Kansas City. I don't think she's in Topeka. I think she's in Kansas City, Kansas. We're like just
Nice.
outside of it. So
Yeah, great. So yeah, anything else that you would like my listeners to know about you? Like,
I okay, well, first of all, I gotta know. So the Life with Francy title,
yeah.
like, did you ever watch Life with Fran?
Oh, I love her. But never put the things together. But yeah, pretty much.
Because I
Yeah.
was like, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, that reminds me of Life with Fran, like Fran Drescher. I love Fran Drescher. She is
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I really wanted to be a character actress. That was like a big goal of mine. And when I was in high school, I actually had some opportunities. Like Second City in Chicago offered me to train there, and I turned it down because like when you're in high school, people are like, get a real job. They say shit like that. And so it's like, so I turned down an opera scholarship at Wayne State. I turned down like some of these great opportunities because I was like, no, I'm going into psychology. And I ended up dropping out one semester in because I couldn't pay for it. I had great grades. I had excellent grades. I had an excellent GPA. I was like president of things and in all these clubs. Like I had that resume going into college. But at the time, they were doing some weird stuff with like how they were giving out scholarships. There was a
Yeah.
lot of politics involved and a lot of pulling back. Like previously, they've been giving out more. So it just was like a weird transition, like back in 2004. And so I didn't get to go to college. Like I tried for the one semester, I tried paying for myself, and I was like 5,000 in debt in one semester. And I was like, and besides that, I think it's kind of where I lost my respect for higher education was because I was going into psychology, and in 4 years there was only 8 psychology classes. And I'm like, what? Like there just was so little having
Yeah.
to do with the career. And I was like, ew, it really turned me off from that. And so I kind of bounced around for a while before I went to massage school, which is a trade school. So everything you're doing is directly applied to what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started to respect that method of teaching more because I'm like, why would I need to learn like if I'm not going to use trigonometry in
I
psychology,
know.
why am I learning it? Like it was just stuff like that. So I definitely have had some opportunities that I missed before, but I really wanted to be a character actress. Like I loved Gilda Radner, I loved Fran Drescher and Lucille Ball and all these really like animated facial like actresses, and they had all these accents, which I love doing accents and stuff like that. So it's I love the title of your podcast. It all pulls back to I love the title of your podcast because it reminds me of Fran Drescher, and that makes me really happy in life. So
Thank you. I just thought about it for so long, and I can't beat niche. That's another thing that is huge. You
yeah.
have to be niche. You have to be niche. I'm like, well, I'm a multi-passionate lover. So
Yes. That's a thing. Like people, that's a term I love. And since I've heard it, it's really come about in the last 2 years is the multi-passionate entrepreneur.
yeah.
Like whoever coined that term, like kudos to you because like I have a lot of different interests. Like if you go on like my social media, like there's some days where I'm going to be playing an auto harp and singing. And there's some days where I'm drawing fashion, like drawing clothes. And then there's some days where I'm like teaching meditation. And so it's like I've never understood people that were like that could say they were bored. Like I'm like, how could you ever be bored? Like, and people would say that during their time off in the pandemic, and I was like, oh my God, I had so much that I wanted to do on a daily basis that like I was never bored. In fact, I didn't even come close to everything I wanted to do in the time off work. Not even close.
Oh, that's amazing. I wish. I do have a lot of hobbies, but right
Mhm.
now I have been so focused on the podcast. Busy season. Oh shoot, today is Friday. Dang it.
Yes.
You see, I forgot the Spanish one again. I Oh my God. So this is gonna be recorded in November. So
Yeah.
and I'm worried about September's episode because I haven't done much with the Spanish podcast.
Yeah.
But the English one just picked up so fast. I
Mhm.
have done 17 interviews in 2 weeks, in three
Oh my
weeks,
gosh, that's tiring.
while working a full-time job.
Mhm.
And on my vacation, I have been able to like outsource some stuff to my new virtual assistant.
Mhm.
So now, like, if I don't want to be online, I don't have to be online because she'll post for me. So it's
That's so
been
nice.
great. It feels weird
Because there's
depending
like,
on somebody.
I really struggle with that because like, and I've thought about like kind of outsourcing some of my social media, but like on a day-to-day basis, I just never know what I want to say or want to post. And like, I try to be really, really authentic because that is one thing I have noticed that gets more views and likes is picture combined with authenticity, but not too much content. So if it's like it's like if it's scrolling pages of what you want to say, unless it's like really important, it doesn't get as much. But if it's like a few paragraphs, that seems to like get the views.
Yeah, no, and for me, I'm just so random. Like, today, I'm running errands and doing this and doing that. Something funny might pop up, and like only once has been where we both posted like 3 minutes away from each other. I was like, oh my gosh, we just posted on Instagram at the same time.
And
We
people
have
are
to
like,
have
man, doesn't she have a life? She's just posting on Instagram all the time.
Anyways, but I love me some diamond painting, which is little beads putting on
Oh
a huge
yeah.
canva. Love it.
Is that so people okay, like I feel like people say that's so meditative, but
Yes.
I would never have the patience for that. Like I look at that and I'm like, no.
The one that, well, I have five open because that's me, but I have one that is over 100,000 beads.
Stop. So what do you do when you're done with them? Do you frame them?
Most of them I have given them away
Oh,
because
okay.
that's just me. I have a bunch of open ones that are huge,
Mhm.
and I have given two away, and I haven't finished one for myself. The
Oh,
one that I have in the background with the elephant,
yeah.
um, a friend of mine, she lost her son,
Oh,
and she had everything elephant. And she was talking
oh,
about depression, grieving and all that stuff, of
yeah.
course. And I gave her that painting for her to work
Okay.
on, and she framed it and made it for me. I
Oh,
was like, oh my God.
so
That means
sweet.
so much to me because his whole decoration was elephant. So it's like little things like that. Like
I'm
you can,
wearing a little elephant necklace. I have like
oh, that's
there's like,
awesome.
I don't know if you can see it. There's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So so it's like stuff like that. Like we were interchange gifts.
Yeah.
And then another one is decorating planners.
Hmm.
So with the washi tape I have in the background too.
I love
And
it.
that's just putting pictures. I told like sometimes I have to volunteer on Sundays
Hmm.
for work. Well, and yeah, they're like, can you do this Sunday? And I'm like, no, it's sticker Sunday. Like, don't mess with my sticker Sunday. So like I have things like that, and people are like, oh no, if you're in the planner world, you have to stay in the planner world. If you're in
What?
the diamond painting world, you have to stay in the diamond painting world. And I'm like, well, I love both. Can I
I
just
would,
attract both of them people and they can know
yeah.
about the other hobby?
Because if you're creative, why wouldn't you just like that kind of doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, it's like if you're creative, it's like you're probably gonna have like multi-modalities that you're creative about. Like, but I remember that like from like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago, like when scrapbooking was really big, that it was like a scrapbooking cult. And people are like, you can't just get into scrapbooking, do this little bit. You need like these 200 materials. I'm like, no, what? It's like scared me away from scrapbooking. So like now I'm going to be doing a scrapbook for work just because I have a bunch of stuff that I've accumulated over 2 years. And I'm like, I just need to scrapbook it, like magazine articles and things I've been in and
Oh,
stuff
I
like that.
love it.
And so like, but it's overwhelming. Like all I bought was the book and some glitter sheets and tape. And I'm like, I asked my like best friend who works with me. I'm like, Crystal, I need your help scrapbook. And it's
I
still
get
just
it,
sitting there.
girl.
It's just sitting there in a pile because I'm like overwhelmed by it. Like it's like, yeah, I need to just dive in and get into it. But it can be, it's like a little overwhelming, especially when you're starting off with some of these hobbies that are like more like product like intensive or material intensive. And if you're a bit of a perfectionist, it's even worse.
Oh yeah, I know. We say like, or one of our hobbies is to buy craft. That's it.
Yeah.
We just buy it and we never do it.
Yeah, that's
Because
like there's a word for like people that just buy books and never read them. And I'm like one of those people. Like I everywhere I go, it does not matter. I'm buying a book. And eventually maybe I'll read it, but I easily have some books on my shelf that have been sitting there for like 12 plus years that haven't read
I
yet.
love it. I asked my friend that I need a bookshelf for all the
Yeah.
books that I'm never gonna read. But hey, if you look at them, you're like, oh, that's one smart lady. Look at the books that she reads.
And the
I'm
crazy
just
thing is,
collecting books.
yeah, like the crazy thing is I get rid of about like a tub or like a milk crate of books like a year. But like, I don't know if you can see this. It's covered with a curtain. This is actually metal industrial shelves
Wow.
that are like 6 feet tall that I have covered with a curtain and it's full of books.
Wow. Yeah,
And
I'm
that's
not
just
like that. I don't have that many books, but
and that's just one. I have
that's
bookshelves. I have bookshelves at work. I have bookshelves upstairs. I have books in my back room. It's everywhere. I have books in my car. I have books in my backpack. Like it's everywhere. It's really crazy.
and how about the friend that comes? So it's like, can I borrow the book? You better bring it back. You haven't touched that book in
So
forever.
I okay, like that used to really bother me because I did always have that. And so now I've kind of made peace with that no, like I keep books that if someone needs to borrow and they don't return, it's like meant to be,
Yeah.
right? There's a few though that I have that like I've really never been able to find anywhere, or they're like more rare or maybe signed or something like that, that I'm like, no, you can't borrow it. Or if I spend a lot of money on it, like because I have a lot of comic books too, which you can sort of see from all these like comic
I
pictures. Little,
love the background.
but I have a lot of comics with some of my comics too. I'm like, no, no, you cannot borrow.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you're taking a pause from the podcast then? Uh
Yeah, so in the next 3 months, I'm done with season one. So I just did my season finale, which was really lovely. And it was an hour long episode. I did a guest podcasting spot because I usually have a producer for my podcast, but sometimes I'll go and do like guest podcasting at other locations. So that's what I did for this one. And it featured this award-winning vegan food truck owner who had this like I want to call it like a small scale vegan dynasty in the Detroit area. And then COVID happened and it just was, she closed everything and people were really brokenhearted, but she's still continuing on. And she's just had like an overwhelming amount of like, I feel like trauma and tragedy and health issues and just problem after problem after problem, but became this immense success. And so I always wanted, from before I had a podcast and before she was a friend of mine, I wanted to interview her. And so this was like a really beautiful interview, I feel like. And she is such an inspiration. So I was so excited to do that season finale with her. But season 2, I got some great ideas. I have some really good guests. And I don't always have guests. Sometimes I do solo storytelling episodes for podcasting. But I'm going to have a Facebook group that's going to be very much like a mental health, I don't like resource center for entrepreneurs and places, places for people to talk. I am going to go on YouTube for the second season because people are constantly just telling me to do video, probably because I usually like, this is chill for today, but a lot of times when I go to record my podcast, I got like a full face of makeup and my boobs are up to here. And so I think people just want to stare at me. But it's also because I make a lot of really crazy facial expressions. And so I think people just like kind of like to watch that. So I'm going to go on YouTube for the second season and that should be really fun. So I do have some interesting stuff in store. My first year I won, well, this first year here, I got third placed in Best of Detroit 2022 for my podcast, which was like a big deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And Our Detroit magazine puts it on. Our Detroit is like, there's different Best of Detroit. But Our Detroit to me has always been the best. It's a standard. They're typically a little bit more upscale. They have excellent articles, the best photography. They cover beautiful events. And to me, they're just like, it's the pinnacle, because sometimes other publications or news stations will do Best of Detroit. But with Our Detroit, it's a one vote per person. They check the IP address. They make sure there's no fraudulent accounts. So no one can rig it. Like no one can rig that system. So to get third place in my first year for a podcast was a big deal for me.
That's
because
huge.
It's huge. And it's not just an accolade, but getting it from that establishment, it made a big difference to me. And it made me feel good that like, even if I'm not like, oh crap, I don't have all these downloads of my podcast this week, or oh no, like my Instagram's not growing or whatever. The people that are invested. And so you can have 20,000 people, but if one person doesn't vote for you for something, what's the point? Or if you have, a million people on your TikTok, but then they're not buying into your business, what is that going to do for you? Nothing. So it's like having the people that are really like invested in me and my projects and what I do, it means the world to me, because that is the point of outreach. And that means that, like the messages I'm saying and what I'm trying to do and cultivate is getting across. And so that's where the worth sets in.
I know. I love it. The podcast world is like validation junkie. If you're doing it right, if you're doing it for the right reason, if you understand that at the beginning you're talking to yourself, pretty much till you get the traction of people. Now, because I'm doing interviews, I'm getting a little bit more traction and people telling me this and that. I worked on my first collaboration with this amazing woman. So now I'm like a leader. I'm still like that. I still don't believe it till like it happens. So I'm gonna throw events for women in podcasting. Did I mention in that group, or was it She Podcast? It was Women in Podcasting?
Women in Podcasting on Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this will be on Monday now that I'm talking to you, but when the podcast releases, it will be 2 months after.
Yeah.
But Women in Podcasting, I'm gonna throw a power networking.
Cool.
So you can come in, check the events, and then you get to promote yourself. You got a minute. to promote your podcast, your service, and then just networking with other women. So
And
I'm
I like
so
that
excited. Yes,
because
she loved my personality.
I love women networking, and I do a lot of in-person stuff, but I am like a little old school that I do very little virtual, but I like the idea of a national women in podcasting situation because I do want to ultimately, even though I do interview, because I do in person, I don't do anything virtual for my podcast. It's completely in person. And so I tend to be really local to like Detroit and Metro Detroit. But at the end of the day, podcasts are everywhere, they're worldwide. So it's like I need to, I know, like open up and embrace the national aspect and the virtual aspect more, but baby steps. Baby
I love
steps.
it. For me, I paid a headliner app. That's where you do audiograms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they have an advertising campaign.
Yeah.
So on my own, I did like maybe 7 countries.
Fun.
When I did the advertisement campaign, like 20 or 30 countries showed up. And I was like,
Whoa.
what? This is amazing. And some of them have stayed. So I
Yeah.
still got their 2%, 3%. And
I
I'm like,
love that.
go Venezuela, go Brazil. I love it.
I know I do kind of like looking at that on like Instagram on like, you know, your statistics or whatever. And sorry, my nose ring itches. I'm like, um, but like I do like looking and seeing like sometimes I'll get other country stuff and I am like kind of a lot in India and I'm like hands up to India, like thanks.
Well, yeah, I bet with the meditation and stuff. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and the beauty too. I think like the vegan beauty and yeah, and that's great because
Yeah.
like I have like massive like Indian culture envy. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I love Indian culture. I love Indian beauty techniques. I love Indian medicine. I love Ayurveda. So like, I mean, obviously like so it's, yeah, so that really like kind of warms my heart because that's a culture that I just really embrace quite a bit.
That's crazy. In Michigan, and you love the culture of India. I love that.
Love.
I just love it.
Mhm.
What is
I
there
do.
not to love?
I do. Yeah. Cause like Michigan's got actually quite a bit of cultures here. We have a heavy Arabic culture, heavy Arabic culture here. Especially like in the Detroit area. Pretty heavy Mexican culture, I would say too. So, and then there's like little sprinklings of other regions too. We're starting to get more in terms of like Bangladeshi. There's like little pockets of like more Asian areas. There's like this one whole city that has like 6 different I would say Asian restaurants and shops that are just like completely populating it. So there's kind of a pretty multicultural area, but it's not all in one. So it's not like just if you go to Detroit and it's sectioned off. It's like a lot of the little suburbs and areas around have a different culture that might be more predominant. So for me, that's really exciting. I'm vegan. And so it's like there's not a ton of American food that's vegan unless it's junky. So I typically eat ethnic cuisine like all the time. And so, and I just really love other cultures. I definitely have like some wanderlust in me and I would love to travel more, but I haven't yet because money, you know,
Yeah.
we're not all money, it takes money. And part of it is I'm like, man, I haven't even seen everything in Michigan I want to see. I haven't even seen everything in the US I want to see. So part of me does want to invest in that before going outside. And part of it too is I think if I go to certain countries, I might not want to come back. And I
Oh,
almost want to,
definitely.
like, I feel like if I go to Bali, I'll never come back. Like, I'll just never come back. It'll be done, game over. I feel like maybe if I go to Hungary, like I have a weird like draw and pull to go to Hungary, I feel like I may never come back. So it's like I kind of almost don't want to do that until I can be in that position that if I'm like, I'm staying, like, then I can stay.
Amen, girl. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been to plenty of the states, but out of the country, just Puerto Rico because I'm from Puerto Rico and it's still U.S. territory.
I'm
But
dying to go to Puerto Rico. It's
let's
so
do it.
I didn't actually know that you were from Puerto Rico. I was literally last night. So in my spare time, that's what I do. I go on Google Maps and I literally look at countries and islands and all this. I look up their real estate I don't know. It's a weird thing I do. But like Puerto Rico, I'm kind of dying to go there because it's a US territory. I don't need to get a passport for it. I'm like, I really want to go. I've had some friends that were Puerto Rican or mixed in the past, and I like love the food and love the culture. And I'm like, I'm just kind of like falling in love with it, and I've never been there. And I'm like feeling a really divine pull to go to Puerto Rico. So if I go to Puerto Rico, what's like the bit of advice you have for me?
Wait a minute right now because they just went through a storm.
I saw
So
that
if
there's
you
no
go right
power.
now, your vacation will be helping the Puerto Ricans to bring Puerto Rico back.
I saw there's no power, right, at all on the whole island.
Yeah, because this has been for forever. In the early 90s, we always have had problems with the power line, but it was
Yeah.
already super weak
Mhm.
before Maria happened 5 years ago, the hurricane. So now
Mhm.
when Fiona happened, it's like it doesn't matter what's wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's it. It's the end of it. It was a lesser storm than Maria, but it brought so much rain.
Yeah.
It can't rain for 12 to 14 hours and the earth to be okay. Like
Yeah.
mudslides, rivers overflowing that never overflown before, flooding
Right.
before. So it's just been crazy. At least this time I spent less than 40 hours without listening to my mom. And it's so funny because I'm an only child. So I'm
Me
her
too.
life.
Yeah.
She only thinks, breathe, Francie. So, and I'm always like, oh, mom, you're so dramatic and this, and that.
But you
Well,
love it. Don't
oh,
lie.
oh, I love it. I love it too. On Sunday, I forgot that, the storm is happening and all that stuff. We were texting. So,
Yeah.
I'm okay. Well, I got home at 5. The
Mhm.
storm had already got there. So the phone didn't go through. Time to lose my shit. That was it. The independent woman comes like, where's my mommy? I want my
Oh,
mommy.
I would
So
have
then,
freaked out. I
yeah,
would have
the
freaked
next
out.
day she
Yeah.
was able to call me. But with Maria was the only time that it took me a week to hear her
Mm.
voice. And I had
Okay.
been here for 19 years
Mhm.
and we talk every day.
Yeah.
Because I disappeared a weekend when I was a teenager, doing teenage stuff.
Hmm.
And I almost killed my mom. So
Oh.
she was in Puerto Rico praying, ready to kill herself because she thought that I was dead. And
Oh.
that was it. I was like, I will never put my mama through that. So even if it's
Yeah.
like, hey, mom, I'm alive. I love you. Bye.
Yeah. But just something. Yeah. For
Yes.
that peace of mind. Well, if I go
But
to Puerto Rico when they get power back, I'll stop and see your mom.
Puerto Rico is awesome. I usually go like in October, like before the holidays come in all
Yeah.
crazy. The weather is amazing and perfect. And then in spring,
Mhm.
I those are my season, fall or spring. In Puerto Rico, it doesn't matter. It's like summertime all the time.
Right.
But it's cheaper.
Oh, okay.
And it's just beautiful for
Yeah.
spring. My friend wants to go because he's an owner of a bird store
Mhm.
and there's a lot of birds in it's that season, so they told him to
Mm.
go like around March. So it depends on what
Okay.
you like, and then you decide if you want to go to the mountains or you want to go to the beach. I'm from the
Okay.
mountains.
I want to do it all. I'll just stay halfway in between.
Girl, it's 3 hours across, an hour and a half up and down. So
Oh,
pretty much
wow.
you can go in a circle in a week and
Yeah,
see
that's
the
not
whole
bad at
4
all.
times. Yeah. So it's awesome. I love it. I love my culture. I love my people. It's a good time. I see them right now. They are at the worst of the worst for us. And they're singing and they're taking care of stuff. And it's just
Right. They're just
amazing.
getting
I'm
it
like,
done.
yeah, my
Yeah.
family. I'm like, are you okay? Yeah, they're okay. I don't have water or whatever. Okay, I will try to. Oh no, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out with this, and that. So this time, thank
Yeah.
God, I'm just sending sunflower seeds and
Okay.
pumpkin seeds to enable their anxiety.
Okay.
So that's a good one. That's a good
Right.
storm. If I'm only worried about sunflower seed and
Some
pumpkin
seeds. Yeah.
seeds, yeah.
Exactly.
But oh my gosh, I had such a great time with you. Is there anything
Yes.
else that you want to say before we leave?
No, the only thing I want to say is check out my podcast. Hope you love it. And if you're in the Michigan, Metro Detroit area, hit me up and I would love to meet up.
Awesome. And I thought another question, because this podcast will be in November.
Right.
What are you grateful for? Since November is always about Thanksgiving and grateful and everything else. So what are you grateful for right now?
It is. And Thanksgiving's like my Super Bowl because I cook a huge vegan Thanksgiving dinner and put it all over Instagram and it's amazing. I'm grateful. Okay, this sounds so strange. I'm grateful that I don't have to think about gratitude every day. Like I'm grateful that I don't have to focus on it, because I feel like a lot of times when people are so like down in the doldrums and they're very pessimistic and depressed and whatever, they have to have a gratitude journal to focus on that. I'm grateful for the fact that I don't have to do that because I intrinsically feel it. And so like the ability to not have to focus on that is really powerful to me. And it just seems like such a foreign thing because it's like I'll turn on the water and feel gratitude that I can turn on the water. Like, and so being able to like really just have that be like a part of me is really special.
Oh my gosh, it's the first time that I asked that question and you blew my mind.
Aww.
That is awesome. That is like way great to look at it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on today.
Oh, you're very welcome. I really enjoy your energy, and oh my gosh, I learned so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for
So,
listening to another episode. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Take care and have a blessed day.
bye.